where they captured Syrian fighter jets. Now, from the previous history of terrorist organization, at best they might know how to fly it, probably not to land it. That momentum is still going on. Another thing they taught us in the Combat Officer Academy is the power of speed consists being quick, easily mobilized, and consistent. Once your forces are quick to react, we're talking about a terrorist organization that was able to bring down Israel to its knees. And just imagine if Hezbollah would have jumped on that train on October 7, October 8, oh boy, we would have been looking right now into a very, very different situation. Iran is sending its forces to invade Syria to fight the rebels. America allegedly are going around bombing the Iranian convoys to stop them from joining the war. Russia is using its air force to bomb the rebels in Syria, in their cities, indiscriminately killing civilians and rebels. The rebels in Syria are managing to crush the Syrian army and just keep pushing it. How the heck are a bunch of rebels able to wage a war against Russia, against Iran, against Hezbollah, against the Syrian army, against the Muslim radical Palestinian factions in Syria, and they're winning? How are they doing that? Well, there's three reasons for that, and I'm gonna try to simply break it down for you from my background as an officer and someone who studied military tactics throughout my entire military career, and help you understand what is going on here, how is it working. Number one, never underestimate the power of speed. How do you think was Hamas able to bring Israel to its knees on October 7? We're talking about a terrorist organization that was able to bring down Israel to its knees. And just imagine if Hezbollah would have jumped on that train on October 7, October 8, oh boy, we would have been looking right now into a very, very different situation. Now don't forget, the Lion of Judah is not easily defeated. Even though it was brought down to its knees, it still rised up and it went and just smacked everybody and fought in 7 fronts, completely obliterating, destroying its enemies, while doing that basically on its own. But still, it was a huge blow to Israel. One of the things they taught us in the Combat Officer Academy is the power of speed consists being quick, easily mobilized, and consistent. Once your forces are quick to react, easy to mobilize, and you can continue consistently pushing into one direction, you have a force not to be reckoned with, a force that can help weaker armies defeat much larger armies. That's bringing us back to the days of early Islam. How do you think these bunch of Bedouins that were basically sitting on horses and camels, they were wearing light armors, they had these curved Muslim swords, they had bows and arrows, and they were camping in tents, able to expand and conquer one of the biggest empires in the history of mankind, able to go and defeat these heavy, slow Templars and Byzantium, the Christian empire, their knights. They were able to go and crush completely the Persian empire and take it down. It's because they were able to mobilize really fast and go into battle as fast as you can. With the biggest amount of speed and consistency, they were able to catch these enemies by surprise, to flank them, to never let them have the time to regroup and gather themselves together so they can do a counter-attack. And that is exactly what the rebels in Syria are doing. That's exactly what is happening here. Now there comes the second part. They were unable to do what they did while Hezbollah was in power. Hezbollah was probably the strongest military force in the Middle East after Israel. Stronger than the Syrian army, stronger than the Lebanese army, arguably even stronger than the Jordanian army and some other relatively respectful armies in that region. But once Israel started going around and backslapping Hezbollah and humiliating Hezbollah, crushing them, that gave one of the biggest green lights for the rebels, and that now is their time to act. Now let's add into that, Iran is being right now exhausted and humiliated by Israel. They're focused right now on surviving and fighting Israel. Russia, one of Syria's biggest allies, is focused on the war with Ukraine. And by the war with Ukraine, they're kind of fighting the entire West. They're fighting all of NATO and the US because all the West is arming Ukraine with the top best warfare technology that they can and making it harder for the Russians to fight them. Ukrainians are fighting bravely and admirably, but they're a very small nation. But with the backing of the West, they're capable to give Russia a serious fight. Now, Russia is not escalating into nuclear warfare, so they're standing there and they're getting depleted with all their military and the technology that is not as superior as the Western technology. They're getting their ass kicked by Ukraine. But how long can that continue? And is that the right thing to give Ukraine maybe a false hope that they can ever win that war? That's a story for another episode. All these global things that are happening around gave the rebels the green light that now is the time for attack, and the way they did it is exactly with this strategy of the power of speed. They caught them by surprise, and the rebels took advantage and just went and swiped through the land with full power, easy to mobilize, as consistent as possible, and just started flooding and not letting the Syrian regime to regroup, not letting the Russians to come and manage to give them help, not letting Iran to send enough reinforcement, and they just went and just swiped through an entire region of Syria. They've reached major cities, taking cache weapon facilities and factories that were built by Iran in Syria to help provide Syria and Hezbollah with weapons to kill the Syrian people and to basically fight against Israel and keep oppressing the people of Lebanon. They've reached military bases. They've reached an air force where they captured Syrian fighter jets. Now, I don't know if they have any pilots that can fly them. I sure hope that they find pilots, that these pilots are not going to be the Al-Qaeda style, that they know how to fly and also how to land. But from the previous history of terrorist organization, at best they might know how to fly it, probably not to land it. Long story short, that momentum is still going on. Now, the third reason why are they succeeding military-wise, and that's again one of the first things that they teach you in the Combat Officer Academy. And it goes like this: the line of defense will ever be broken. And you need to understand that as a household, as a military base, as an outpost. You cannot rely on walls or fences to stop your enemy. That will be a dire mistake that you need to do only once and then you're done. That's what the Chinese did. In the peak of the Chinese Empire, they invented the gunpowder. They had science, they had culture, they had a military, while Europe was in the Stone Age, basically, in the Dark Age, dying out of famine and just fighting with sticks and rocks. China was on the top. Until one day, the Chinese came and said, why are we dealing with all these barbarians around us, all these Mongolians and all these raiders around us? Why are we wasting time with them? Let's build a wall that the world has never seen. And they built a wall that you can see from the moon, so big, so long, so massive, one of the seventh wonders. And then they felt this false sense of security and said, now we can focus on art, on culture, on economy, on a lot of stuff. We don't need to focus on military now. We have a big wall that is defending us. And they became complicit until one day Genghis Khan with a bunch of Mongols went around that wall and just went and raided through this entire nation, through this entire land of Asia, just crushing and destroying everything in their way, reached all the way to Europe, to the Middle East, creating the biggest empire ever to be recorded in the history of man. They did the same thing. They used the power of speed. They were easy to mobilize, they were quick, and they were consistent. World War II, huge wall with so many bunkers covering it, was so easily defeated just because they maneuvered around it. So that teaches you that if you really want to defend your country, your household, your outpost, doesn't matter what, you need to have a wall. That's a good thing to have, but you need to have a strong force, a strong resistance force that is like on a spring, ready to go and punch in any direction. Someone is breaking the wall from here, bam, you punch them. Someone's going from the side, you give them a side punch. Someone's coming from under, you give them an uppercut. Your force is ready to mobilize, being quick, with speed and momentum, and is able to go and defend. If Syria would have had a army company large enough that was just waiting on reserve, waiting to see what's happening, they would have probably been able to stop that invasion and to stop the momentum. If Russia had its troops there properly ready, they would have been able to do that. If Israel on October 7 had enough forces ready in reserve, not only 3 tanks and 1 Apache, they would have probably been able to stop the entire October 7. One of my dear friends was an Apache pilot commander who was one of the first ones to reach into that battle, and he said, you have no idea how many terrorists we've killed. It felt like some scene from a zombie apocalypse. They were just running, breaking through the fence, and we just came with Apache and just cut them down, back and forth. I had to go back to the base to replenish my ammunition 3 times while using it on these very easy to get targets. So in one aspect, this is like the wet dream of every combat Apache pilot, an enemy that is just so easy to kill, but they came too late into the battle. And that's not a guy who watched zombie movies. But when I told him it sounds like something from World War Z, and he said that's exactly how it was. So my point is, when you have a force that is ready to go and react fast enough, and when you're not relying on the fence, on the wall, on the border, then you are better equipped to defend yourself. And in the case of Syria, they didn't have that. Hezbollah, which was their kind of hope for defense on behalf of Iran, on behalf of Syria, was crushed and destroyed by Israel. Russia was busy fighting Ukraine. The Assad regime was basically kind of ineffective and scattered and fully corrupt and unable to do what should be done. And the rebels took advantage and just went and swiped through the land. Long story short, That momentum is still going on. Now here comes the interesting question. What's next? Russia right now is meeting with Iran, and they're talking about how they should help the Assad regime to get back its country, because they don't want to lose, the Assad of evil. They don't want to lose one of their evil allies. They don't want to lose their Shiite brothers to the Sunnis that are coming to take it. As radical as they might be, they're not their allies. Will they come and join the war? And if they will, to what extent? And then comes the question, what will the West do? Will NATO, the US, will they also join the war to help these Sunni come and take over Syria? And I think the answer for that lays on what path will the rebels in Syria take. Are they going to become another extension of Al-Qaeda? Bear in mind, these rebels, a big chunk of them were actually just members of Al-Qaeda and ISIS that came together. Like I said before, their leader, Jawlani, is wanted by the United States. Many of them are not really friendly, let's just call it that way. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, I would appreciate if you can go and do the like, subscribe, share, the whole shebang. It helps my channel grow. Leave a comment. It helps the gods of the algorithm and helps me keep pushing this content to a wider audience. And if you want to practically help this channel grow so we can reach bigger audience, so we can invite more interesting guests to this podcast, go and visit my Patreon, where you can find direct and practical ways how to support my work. After all, I am doing this for free and out of my own free time, and this has become my main source of income. What I'm trying to say is, if you're a subscriber of this channel, if you're enjoying the content in this channel, help us by sharing these videos and help us by reaching bigger audience, because the bigger the channel can get, the bigger the guests that I can invite, and the more interesting the content can be. And I'm here to stay. I'm here to give you the best content that I can give you regarding political analysis, regarding the world of special forces in Israel, outside of Israel, regarding military understanding of what's happening in the world, regarding the Arab world. There's a lot of things I want to share regarding fatherhood, and a lot of things that are burning passionately in my heart, and I just love to talk about them. But I do need your help to help me keep growing this channel. But until then, guys, don't do anything stupid in general. Just don't do anything that I would do. And in general, adapt this aspect of the power of speed into your life. That lesson learned from the world of combat can be applied to many aspects in life. Can be applied to go to the gym. Can be applied to starting a new diet. Can be applied to giving it all for your business, for your work. Is a way to simplify things and act quickly, be able to maneuver quickly and stay consistent. One of the things that you need to do in order to be able to maneuver quickly, if it's in the military, if it's in business, or in any aspect in life, is you need to start assessing your situation and eliminating anything that might slow you down. If you see that you are attached too much to the possessions, to equipment, to traditions, to man-made traditions, to a culture, to all kind of habits that slow you down, get them out of the way. Focus, see what is needed, what is not needed in your life, so you can become a better version of yourself, and then you become faster to maneuver, you become quicker to react, you're able to adapt to new situations faster and to take the right actions. And then comes the most important part, which is consistency. Discipline, where you can keep pushing in that direction. But if something goes out of the way or something is not working, then you can just shift quickly, and keep moving forward towards that goal. And that is something that is definitely helpful. I see it in my own channel when I'm trying to work and make you these videos. One of the things that I had to do is to eliminate every obstacle that made it harder for me to set the camera, to put the mic, to get the script that I wrote and just speak. The more obstacle I had in the way, the lesser I was likely to come and succeed doing so. So that's a good tip that I have to give you today. But until then, guys, don't do anything stupid, and see you soon. I forgot a cup of coffee. I forgot my coffee mug.